Good day, students. This is going to be a Quamichan Computers 8.9 tutorial video. Today, we're going to continue to make our game. Thank you for watching the previous video. In part 1, we set up our game, made our player characters, provided it animations and coding, and added our terrain tile set. Today, we'll be adding our Hitbox, Hurtbox system, adding an enemy, including item pickup and background. So let's continue. Next up, now that we've got our character and it's animating, we need to add more to our game. We want to be able to fall, and when our character falls, we want our character to die and our game to reset. We're not going to necessarily make a health system, but you can look up a tutorial to do that. But for now, we're just going to make it that when our character falls, the game will reset. So we're going to make two things for this. We're going to make a Hurtbox and a Hitbox. And the reason why we're doing this is that we're going to also be adding our enemies and gems that we've created and our objects so that we can interact with those. So starting off, we're going to be making our Hitbox and then our Hurtbox. All right, so up here in a new scene, we're going to empty scene. We're going to go other node, and we're going to look up area. We're going to choose area 2D and hit create. All right, we're going to rename this area 2D to Hitbox. All right, so a hitbox is the thing that goes and hits other objects. All right, it does the hitting, if you want to put it that way. A hurt box determines who is being hurt. Okay. So we create our hitbox. With our hitbox created and named, we're going to be adding a collision shape to it. So under your recent, you should be able to find your collision shape. If not, you can search up collision shape 2D and hit create. Perfect. All right, we've got the two things that we need. So let's save. Command S or Control S to save and hit save. Now, in our inspector, we are going to be changing some of our properties. So over here, under collision, we're going to turn off layer 1 and mask 1. Now, I'm arbitrarily going to be choosing mask 4 for our hitboxes. However, if you were to be wanting to organize, and you can go into your project settings, scroll down to your physics layers. So we've got 2D physics layer, and you could end up naming them. For example, you could be like, hey, this is going to be everything to do with the environment or terrain or tiles or something like that, right? Right? And then number 2, that's going to have to do with my player. And number 3 is going to have to do with items. And number 4, that's going to do with enemies, right? You could organize these things in whatever way, shape that you would like them to be and name them. I'm going to, of course, just leave them for blank, right? But I'm going to say, for our purposes, that it's going to be on 4 by default. And we're going to make it that any time that it's interacting with something on layer 4, it's going to communicate with something, or on mask 4, it'll communicate with something on layer 4. This, of course, is going to change as we get into jumping on enemies and stuff like that, and making it that we want them not to kill each other. But for now, we're going to set the default for ideally, you could just leave these blank and set them according to your player or your object or your enemy. Okay. But by giving it a default, at least you will be able to make something and it'll work, but maybe not the way you want, as opposed to just like can't figure out why it didn't work in it because you didn't set your collisions. Okay, set to 4. We're going to now add our script for our hitbox. So script, make sure the templates are turned off, and hit create. All right, in our script, we're going to be creating a new type of variable. This is an export variable, so export var, and we're going to pass in damage equals 1. All right, and if you quickly save and you reselect your hitbox, you'll now notice that in your inspector, you have a new hitbox code, GD script, property called damage and 1. And this will allow you to increase or decrease the amount of damage that whatever is doing the hitting is doing to different objects. This will be helpful when you get a health point system. Okay, next, we're going to be creating a function. Oh no, we want to use a built-in function. So we've done this, and now we're going to go under node, and we're going to choose on area entered. So very top one, on area entered, we're going to select that, and we're going to hit connect, and then connect here, and it will put in a bit of code for us. On area entered, area 2D, and right now it's not doing anything, but we're going to make it do it. So when it enters an area and it is another area, so another area signal, in this case will be our Hurtbox, we are going to say, hey, you're an area. We want you to emit a signal. And do you have, we want it to say, emit your signal, hit, if you have one. And then if you do, here's the damage that you'll need. So we've got part 1 of the communication. If it enters an area, it tells that area to emit a signal called hit and then passes the damage. Let's save. Now we need to make the opposite end of this. A hitbox needs a hurtbox, right? So out of 2D for a moment, out an area, other. Since we've just created an area 2D, which should be in our recent, right? And this is going to be our Hurtbox, right? Save, right? Add a collision shape. Okay, back to the inspector over here. All right, with our Hurtbox, we're going to turn again the collision. We're going to turn the mask and the layer off. But for the Hurtbox, we're going to set the default to layer 4, the opposite of the hitbox, so they'll communicate with each other. All right, we're going to add some code. And this is going to have 1 line of code, but we still need to add it. So Hurtbox, add, make sure no templates on, and hit create. All right, we're going to be creating the signal code. Signal, all right, hit, which is what it's looking for, and wants a damage. All right, so the hitbox is saying, looking for things to tell it to emit a signal, and when it does, it'll tell it to emit the hit signal, and this is looking for a damage, and well, this is providing the damage, and so they're communicating with each other. Perfect. Okay, now we've got these two. We can add to our player, go to 2D, we're going to add to our player currently only a Hurtbox, right? Character currently doesn't have an attack. So we're going to add an instance, and we want a Hurtbox, hit open. We're going to right click on our Hurtbox, edit, and now select this collision shape, and we're going to put it around our player. I am going to use a capsule shape, and I'm going to stretch it a little bit, move it down, making sure that it covers my area a little bit, maybe make it a little thinner. if something hits me in this space, I am going to take damage, or in this case, I'm going to restart my game. That's what we're going to tell it to do. Now, I like to color code this, and so I want this to be a different color. I want it to kind of be more of a red hue. So click, and there we go. So my movement is blue. This one is going to be red. Save. We're going to select our Hurtbox, and we're going to go to node, and we're going to take the hit signal up here that we created, and we're going to connect it to our player. Connect. Now it'll do it at the bottom of our scene. All right. And for now, we're just going to tell it to restart our game. We're going to say to get tree dot reload current scene, and this will restart the scene. All right. Well, now that we've done this, we need to create an area for our character to interact with, a hitbox to interact with, to make it that our character will die. Now you'll notice I conveniently made it that my world didn't dip below a certain space. If you designed it and you've got like things going all over the place, you're going to need to figure out which areas are going to be detrimental to your character. All right. And you can have multiple hitboxes, what we're going to call fall zones, so that if a character falls on it, then it will tell our character to restart. So just in case you need multiples, we'll use a kind of folder system. So we're going to go other. We're going to choose node and create, and we're going to rename this one Fallzones, just in case you have more than one. I will only need one. Okay. Next, we're going to, in our fall zones, we're going to add the hitbox and hit open. All right. Now I want my hitbox's collision shape to move wherever I move this. So I'm going to turn on parenting for this, or grouping. It'll turn on the grouping node, and I'm going to now right click and choose edit. All right. I'm going to give it a new shape, and I'm going to use world boundary shape because my bottom can be a boundary for me. However, if you have multiple areas and you don't want it to go past the boundary and die, you may want to use something like a new rectangle shape and stretch that rectangle out. But I'm going to use a world boundary shape, and I'm going to move it down. Move my collision down, and I'm going to put it over here where I can easily see it. Okay, so it's saying, hey, this direction is up, safe. Anything below this blue line, my character is going to interact with it, and it's going to do something. It's the boundary box. In this case, it's going to fry my character. So if we hit save and we hit play, my characters go to the edge, I die, and the game resets. Perfect. So yay. Okay. We've got our character, can jump, move, jumps off, my game resets. Great, we've got that working mechanic. And we're got our world all going. Oh, I like to name these, so I'm going to rename this to Fall Zone, so that I know what it is instead of just a hitbox. And I'm going to collapse that so it's hidden in there. We've got our world, we got our Fall Zone, Hurtbox. We're doing pretty good. Oh wait, well, we have our character, we have a world. What if we've added some enemies? I would like to have some enemies, but I think I'm going to need maybe to modify my world just a little bit so that my enemy, maybe when it spawns, doesn't just automatically kill my character. So let's fix that. I'm going to create a little wall here that I'm going to have to hop over. All right, there's a wall that is there, and I'm going to put an enemy on this side. I'm going to put an enemy up top of there. And I think that's what I'll have. I'll create 2 enemies. That's where my enemies are going to go. But we need those enemies to begin with. So let's make those enemies. Come over here to this plus button, and we're going to go and grab and make our enemy. Again, like our character, it's going to need to be a character body 2D. We're going to call this enemy. We've got our character body 2D called enemy. It's going to need nodes. We're going to add. Now, I've shown you different one way of animating, and that is to use a sprite 2D and an animation player. For your enemy, we're going to use another method of animation, and this is going to be an animated sprite. So if you type in sprite, you can choose an animated sprite 2D and hit create. Right? And we'll still need a collision shape, so you can add that collision shape. All right. And our enemy is also going to need to be able to detect where the edge of the ground is, and so we're going to use a ray cast 2D. All right. And that's it for now. All right. So those are the nodes that we're going to need for our enemy. Just like our player, we are going to be needing to add the image. We're going to do that here under animation empty, and we're going to do a new animation. All right. And we're going to click it to open up the animation thing. Now, here we're going to name animation to move instead of default. So call it move. All right. We want it to automatically play said animation. So we're going to say autoplay. And if it's looping's not turned on, you're going to want to turn on looping. Now, we want to add in the frames for our character. So we're going to do that by coming over to this here. We're going to select our enemy and hit open. We're going to adjust this. So this will go down to 1, and we've got 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're going to select our animations in order. This 0 is, of course, your first frame. 2, 3, 4. And hit add frames. And there we are. We've got our enemy all across the bottom. And if we were to play this little animation, you can see he's walking and playing. Perfect. Okay. So we've got our character's animation, but it needs a collision shape for its movement. Where is the floor? Where's the top of its head? Let's figure that out for him. So under collision shape, we're going to do new rectangle and adjust this to our character. His feet are there, so I'm going to limit it to his feet and the top of the head, and that's going to be his movement collision. This is the ray class collision. We'll get to that next. So for the ray class on this character, I'm going to be making it much smaller, but it's going to be according to the size of my character. I want this to be right by the feet. Your character might be a different shape and size, and so you're going to have to adjust this to fit your character appropriately. Currently, 50 pixels is too big. I think mine's probably about 20. I'm going to guess 22. That looks perfect. Okay. But maybe if it's not, like I said, you want that triangle to be right by the feet, right underneath. If you need to, adjust this until you have the right length for your character. Okay. Perfect. Okay. Next up, we want this character to be able to hurt our character by having a hitbox. So we're going to add instance, right? We're going to choose a hitbox and hit open. All right. All right. And we're going to then right click, edit, take this, and choose a new shape. All right, I'm going to adjust this shape. You'll notice I'm leaving a bit of the headroom here. I want it that if my character jumps on the top of this character's head, kind of like Mario. All right, so there is my collision. I'm going to go for the debugger color, and I'm going to make this a different color. I'm going to make it like a cautionary orangey yellow, right? So it's going to attack, and that'll be its attack color. All right, but I want to be able to jump on its head, and so it needs a hitbox, or a hurtbox, sorry. So we're going to add our hurtbox. All right, and right click, edit, select, and make that shape. We're going to move my character. Adjust this. I'll make it a little difficult. There we go. And I'm going to change its color. I want to mark it green. This is the zone I want to hit. Okay, so I know that if I miss the exact top of the head, I'm going to get hurt. If I am, it will be able to run into me and hurt me. But if I jump on top of the head, I should be able to hurt it. Perfect. I'm going to briefly adjust this. I'm going to put it 1 pixel down so that I can put the hurt box 1 pixel down. Perfect. All right. They, if you had them the exact on top of each other, they can create some weird issues where it thinks that you are standing on top, but it's not signifying that you actually hit it, and so you need it to be give it a pixel difference so that they will communicate a little clearer. Okay, let's save our enemy. I think I forgot to do that, so let's make sure we do. Command S to save, or Control S, or scene save. And we've got our enemy. However, our enemy needs code. So let's get to coding our enemy. Add code. All right, just like our character, it's going to need a speed. We're going to it's not going to jump, so we're going to give it a direction to tell it which way it's facing right away, and so forth. So we're going to go. We're going to have a variable speed equals. We're going to say 50. It's going to be slower. We're going to have a variable direction equals to 1. Variable. It's going to need gravity equals project settings dot get setting, and of course our physics process, or sorry, our physics, and we're going to do physics to the default gravity. Okay, perfect. Just like our character. And just like a character, we're going to be wanting to communicate with some of our nodes here. So selecting first our animation player, we're going to select that and pull it over. Hold down Command or Control if you're on a Windows computer, and throw it in. And continue on with our collision shape and our arraycast. Perfect. All right. Next up, we're going to be encoding its movement. So start off with a function. We're going to use a physics process. All right. We're going to be checking if our character is on wall. Yep. In this case, we're checking if our character is on the wall. So they're going to collide with the wall or not. And we want to maybe rename this to be a little easier to understand what this is. And so our arraycast is actually going to be our floor detector. All right, so we want our floor detector is colliding and is on floor. Oops, I said if, or is as opposed to if. There we go. I was wondering why I was wrong. Okay, next we're going to say we're going to take our direction. It's going to be equal to a direction times -1. All right, and then we're going to take, we're going to have a new line in there for another function later, but for now, we're going to just give it our movement. So we're just going to have it move in the y position. It's going to equal our gravity times our delta. And it's always just going to be moving, doesn't stop. It's going to take our speed times our direction. All right. And then I'm going to have move and slide. Okay, now we need to determine which direction it's facing. And for that, we're going to be using a function. So we're going to create a new function. And we're going to call it direction facing. All right. We're going to say if direction equals 1, right? Then we're going to say animations sprite dot flip h equals false, and the animation player dot play is going to play the move animation. Okay, we have a different one. If our direction equals -1, we're going to say animation player dot flip h equals true, and dot play still going to move. All right, perfect. And we're going to say that the floor detector, its position, the x, is going to equal, and I know I want mine to be a few pixels to the right and to the left of my character. I know the size of my character, and so if I was to go to my image here, I know that from the center of my character out this way, that's going to be about 8 pixels. And from this character to over here is again about 8 pixels. And so I want this to jump around from here to here to determine where it's colliding. You may need to have to figure that out by selecting your raycast and moving its X position to the extent of your collision shape for your character to make it to know where that's going to be, and then put it back to 0 so that it'll flip properly. And then when you're in your code, you're going to use that number, in this case, 8 for me, and then you're going to times it by your direction. And then it'll jump from right or to left according to the position of the direction. All right, so perfect. Now we'll go back into here and we're going to then call our direction facing. Save. Okay, that should be it for our, however, we want it to die if our character jumps on its head. So to do that, we're going to select our Hurtbox. We're going to go to node. We're going to use the hit signal. And we're going to hit connect. We're going to connect to our enemy script. And it will, just like our player, now have a Hurtbox thing. Again, if we were to create a health system This is where you would like minus your enemy's health. In this case, we're just going to delete the enemy. We're going to call queue free. And this will just delete the enemy from the game. Perfect. Let's save. Good. 2D, our character should be there. It should be working. Let's go to our world. We're going to add a new node folder. Call this enemies, and add an instance of the enemy, and it's on top of my character. Move it out with the arrow keys so I can grab it easy. Okay, I'm going to put an instance of the enemy over here. I want to duplicate this, so I'm going to use Command D to duplicate. You can use Control D if you're on a Windows computer, and then select and move the enemy to where you want it to be. I just want to. You can add more enemies, but now I've got my enemies there in the game. Okay, let's test this. Hit play. All right. Hey, what happened? Where are my enemies? Okay. So remember with me telling you that like we've got this hitbox, hurtbox. What is happening, I bet you, is that the enemy is hitting, deleting itself. I bet you that is what is happening. Let's double check this. I have a feeling that is what's happening. So come to the hitbox, hurtbox. Okay, so yes, this is exactly what's happening. So in here, if we select our hurtbox is on 4, which works because so is the hitbox, and they're communicating with each other. This is a problem. Remember how I talked about that you probably are actually going to want these turned on and off for different things? Well, in this case, we have ran into this again. So we're going to make it that only our player can kill our enemies. So we're going to take the hurtbox and turn off 4, and we're going to arbitrarily choose 2, representing, say, our player. So if our player hits this, then we will be able to delete this. For now, that should make it that our enemies don't, die on us when they spawn. Let's try again. There we go. Look at that. Got a nice little enemy. 2 of them. They run back and forth. They see an edge. They turn around. And if they run into me, I die. Perfect. Now, I can't kill it. Right now, I just ride on top of its head. Because, yeah, I don't have a hitbox to be able to hit them. So let's fix that. So, come to my player and add in a hitbox. So we're going to instance, hitbox, open. All right. And we're going to be adding a hitbox for our player. Right click, edit. And now we want this to, of course, detect enemies. So we want this hitbox not to be on 4, but to be on 2. All right. So make sure you get that change. And we're going to add the shape. All right. And I'm going to use a square. And I'm going to put this the bottom. So if, because I'm a jumping, I jump and I hit with this part. Let's make this kind of a green since I made the other one green. So if I hit with this one, it will hopefully destroy our enemy. Let's try it. Let's save. Control world, hit play. I died. There we go. Yay! I can delete my enemies if I jump on them. That works. So we've got our enemies now all working. Our world is feeling a little bare. Let's make it that we can add objects to our world. I'm going to show you two different ways that we can do this. So for objects that are just kind of going to be part of kind of the background and that, we could actually add these as a new tile set to our world. So I'm going to do that for some of my objects. So I'm going to come to my tile map, come to objects, and drag and drop. Oops, make sure I'm on tile set. Drag and drop, and hit yes, and it'll divide it up. And save my tile map, come to my world, come to my tile map here, and now I can switch between like my grass tiles and my object tiles and begin putting them in. For example, maybe I want to put my sign here saying, hey, you should go this direction. And I want to have a tree in my scene. So I'm going to add a tree there. I want another tree there. And maybe another tree. And I'm going to add a bush there. Perfect. Yay. My scene is looking more scene-like. So got some environmental art, better. I hit play. My character is just going to go in front of them. Right. The NPCs are going to go in front of them. But my world is looking more world-like. However, I might want some of my objects to be more interactable, right? I might want my character to, say, run into a trap and then die. Let's make that happen. So we're going to make a new scene, other node, and we're going to use an area 2D. We're going to hit create. This area 2D is going to have a name. It's going to be called trap. It's going to need a sprite. So create. And it's going to need a collision shape. Perfect. All right, let's start off with its image. So texture, we're going to choose load, and we're going to choose the whole object sheet, and it's going to have all the objects. But I only want to have this part of my object, my spikes. To choose this, we're going to be enabling a region. So over here under region, we're going to hit enable, and then we're going to select edit region. And then I'm going to say pixel snap. And then I'm going to redraw my box so that it's only around my spikes. Perfect. Close, and there's my spikes. I'm going to take my collision shape, and I'm going to add the collision. Oops, cancel. Undo. Adjust it. So if my character was to fall on this, the trap will kill my character. Oh wait, so I got a trap. All right. But is it going to kill them? No. In fact, I don't want my character to stand on these, but I do want my enemy to run into them so they don't like actually kill themselves. So I'm going to have it that it's there, but I need a hitbox to kill my character. So I'm going to come here and add a hitbox. Right click, edit, make that danger zone. Make red. Perfect. All right. So now I've got that danger zone. And we're going to now create a folder for our traps. So node, all the traps. And I'm going to make instead of falling to my death here, I'm going to make some more ground here and then add those That's kind of like pit traps. So there we go. Made my ground. Okay, come to my trap. We can add a trap instance. It's over here on top of my player. All right. Just move it off my player. Perfect. And move it around. So got my trap. I'm going to duplicate it. Command D or Control D if you got a Windows computer. And make it that. We got some traps. All right. Save. Play. All right. Oh, my traps are working. Oop, perfect. All right. We've got traps working. We have our enemies moving. All right. Last couple things that we're going to be creating. We're going to be creating a small gem in which we want to interact with this. And we're going to make it that we can collect said gem. So, and then we'll make a small little HUD for our game so that we can see how many gems we currently have. So let's start off with making our gem. So up here, we're going to go to empty. We're going to make another scene, or sorry, other node. We're going to be choosing an area 2D. And we're going to hit create. We're going to add in an image and a collision shape, just like we did with our 2D image, just like we did with our trap. Oops, cancel. And collision shape. Perfect. And we're going to call this gem. All right. We're going to save our gem. All right. And we're going to give the gem an image. So just like last time, we're going to go to load. We're going to choose our objects. We're going to enable region, edit the region, and select the gem. Okay. So there's the gem. I'm going to give it a collision shape. I'm going to give it a circle shape. And yeah, that's good. Good enough for me. All right, so if my character is trying to interact with that, they will end up picking this up, which is what we want to do. But we need to make the code so that we can do that. So we're going to add some code. We're going to add some code. Great. All right, so this is going to need a signal. So signal, I'm going to call it gem collected. If you use something else like a coin or something like that, the concept is the same. Yeah, stars, coins, that'll all work. Now we're going to have this gem collected signal go off when the body of this gem is entered. So we're going to select this. We're going to go to node, and we're going to use on body entered. So node body entered in this case, not area entered. And we're going to hit connect. All right, and connect it to there. Perfect. Okay, so on body entered. The reason why we're using body is because our player has a body, and we want it to be the player's body is going to be collected. Currently, as this is designed, if you put your gems too low, your enemies might be able to collect it. We could change that. But at the moment, we're just going to focus on having it that it's going to do emit the signal gem collected, and then it will erase the gem when been collected. Okay. So, as we talked about, what if our enemies try to collect the gem? So we could typeface our character. We could give it a character class and call it like character or player, and then we could then say body, and then instead of a node 2D, we could tell it to be a player. Um, I'm not so worried because I'm going to put my gems above. But you can find, if you got those questions, I can help you later in class. But in this case, for now, we're just going to have it that it's this way. Okay, so we want our, we're going to have our world, and we're going to put in these gems, and they will be in the world, and our character will be able to interact with them, and they will disappear, but we won't have a counter yet to see that they are collected. But let's um, put them in the world for now. Gems, right? And let's add a gem. All right. So I'm going to add our first gem right there. It'll be there. Okay. So I'm going to have a total of 5 gems to collect. Okay. If I was to hit play, my character enters it, the gem disappears. Yay. All right, but we have no gem counting. Let's create our gem counter HUD. So we're going to do so. We're going to make a new empty scene, go other node, and we're going to look up canvas layer. And hit create. We're going to all this HUD. All right, our canvas layer is going to have a couple items. And they are going to be control nodes and stuff. So let's add them. First one we need is a panel node. Panel. All right, so we're going to create a panel node. We're going to add a texture node, or image. So a sprite. We're going to add a label. Need 2 labels. So label 1, right, and label 2. Perfect. Okay. This label is going to have the X symbol. This label is going to have the value. All right. Let's organize this space so we got a nice looking interface. Starting off with the panel. In the panel, we are going to scroll down to get to theme and choose theme override. And we're going to give it a new style box. So we're going to give it a style box flat. All right, and we're going to give it a background color. So open this up, background color. We want this to have no colors here. So these are going to be zeros. Going to be black. And then we want this to have an alpha value. And you may choose how dark that might be. I'm going to go for 75. There we go. All right. You can choose your alpha value, right? Now I want mine to have nice beveled round corners. And so in here, I'm going to change the corner radius. And I think I'll change it by like 20 pixels. You can change it if it's more severe if we needed to, but 20 pixels. Pixels. 20 pixels. Pixels. There we are. Nice round values. All right. And perfect. Okay. Saving. All right. Yeah. There we go. Next up, we're going to bring in our image just like we did before. We'll load, select, open. Okay. And of course, edit, edit region. And we only want the dot. Okay. Perfect. Okay. I don't want it to be centered. I want the corner to be there. And then I'm going to move it down and move it in. All right. X value, I'm going to put an X. And have some zeros in there. All right, and we'll move those into space here shortly. I want both of these to move into the same area, so I'm going to adjust the position. Except that I want the value to be off to the side. Something like that. Good. And then I want to adjust the panel. Nice. All right. I don't want it so thick, so I'm going to squish it and then move these up. How's that look? That's okay. Okay. Once you're done making yours visually appealing to you, you can finish fiddling around with it and then save it. Come to our world, and we're going to add the HUD to our world. So world, add the HUD, and there we go. Don't need to move it. It will be fine when we run the game. So I know it looks like it's in the way. If that's bothersome, you could like visually hide it and it'll still be there when it runs. But that's where we want it to be. Okay. Save. We hit play. We have a HUD over here, but if I pick up a gem, no counting is happening at the moment. Let's fix this. All right. So I got my gem. Now I realize I just made a mistake. And it's not a big mistake. You probably did the same thing. And I'm sorry. We want this gem to be communicating with the HUD. And it's easier if we just have this gem do the work and then duplicate that gem, and then its communication will happen with the HUD every single time. Otherwise, I have to like select this gem, communicate with HUD, that gem, communicate with HUD. So I'm going to delete these other gems. Move them and put new ones in later. All right. But yeah. Okay. So we want this gem to communicate with HUD using the node gem collected, connect, and we want it to connect with the HUD. All right. And we're going to connect. Oh, can't do that yet. Reason why, I forgot to give a script to the HUD. Let's do so. Back to the HUD, add script. There we go. All right. We will need an onReady for the value label. So full drop. Okay. We're going to rename this to gem value, just so it reads a little easier. Okay, we're going to create a variable called gems. Oh, gems equals 0. Okay, we're going to have a function. Function. We're going to use a ready function this time. And we're going to do the gem value. So gem value dot text equals a string, and it's going to be the gems, right? Which is currently 0. We have to connect that one. All right, so perfect. There we go. All right, to our world. Then we're going to take the gem, so we want the gem collected, which will build the function into our HUD connect. There we go. There. Now we've got the gem function that we want on gem collected. And when we collect it, we want to use update it. So we're going to do gems equals gems plus 1. And we want to then run the ready function to update the value. Okay. If we hit play, currently I have no gems. Now we got 1 gem. Perfect. Oh, wait. Now you can collect. You can duplicate that gem. Move that gem to where you want it to go. But that is almost all the things that we want to do. The last thing, we made a lovely background, and we want this background to kind of follow us around and be in the background, and we should probably do that. So let's do so. We're going to make our last node, and we're going to add. We're going to use a parallax background canvas item. We're going to move this to the very, very top. Nope. And we're going to add this, our texture to this. So we're going to come here and we're going to use a texture rectangle. And we're going to add our background texture. All right. And we're going to have it fill. There we go. All right, and so now we have our background. If you've made it like a larger piece and you had like other ones, we could actually have it animate kind of back and forth and create a full parallax. But that's for a different time and place. If you want to get into that, please look up a tutorial. But for now, that'll just give us a quick little background that will work for us. It will make it that our character will have a nice background. We've got a nice world. We can collect some gems. We can die. Yeah. Perfect. Oh no, I died. Oh wait. Thank you for doing this tutorial with me. You should have a functioning little game, and I hope that you learned lots, and I'll see you in class.